Welcome, Valpo fans, to another edition of the Valpo Coaches Show brought to you by Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute. I'm Aaron Levitt. Joining me this week, the head coach of the Valpo Bowling program, John Martin. Coach Martin, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Probably been a whirlwind for you, I'm guessing, since you've been hired in late May. Your first season as head coach of the Valpo Bowling program, the first time you've been a collegiate head coach at any level. I guess I just want to start off with what have these first few months been like, kind of getting the lay of the land?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to take care of, a lot to get organized. Kind of implementing my new philosophy, sort of with the team, getting the team to understand where I'm coming from, and all those kind of things that go along with having a new head coach. It's been busy, as you could expect, but I've kind of embraced the challenge and feel like I have a great group of young ladies to work with, and they've responded very well to everything we've done so far.
Yeah, I want to touch on that because it's always interesting. You come in, you're a new head coach. You haven't recruited any of these student athletes, and you talk about getting them to buy in. How's that been like, since you've gotten to work with them in practice the first couple months here of the season?
It's been really good. I mean, I would kind of define myself a little more as a player's coach. I think I relate very well to the modern collegiate player and what they're looking for in a coach. So there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of understanding. You really, I think the modern coaches, you really have to spend a lot of time understanding players' needs, understanding them as individuals, and working on that stuff. And that can be very time consuming, but it can also be very rewarding. And I think it's built dividends over the course of time so far.
While this is your first time as a college head coach, you do have experience with collegiate bowling, your daughter being a current collegiate bowler. How much has that helped you in the transition to the coaching world of college bowling?
I think it's helped a lot, not even necessarily from the standpoint of the skill level, which is always learning sort of and understanding how the best players in the world do things can really help. But I think also just being her and her level of maturity and where she's at with stuff and helping me to understand really like the modern player and what you're really looking for and how to accommodate yourself to the individual. It's modern game is a lot more along the lines of positivity, and it's not, we're not in the Bobby Knight throwing chairs era of college sports anymore. As you can see with NIL, and people can leave and everything can happen. So you got to be a really caring person and understand where they're coming from as individuals. And I think I learned a lot of that from my own daughter. And then now I can apply it to these other young ladies that I'm coaching right now.
Few weeks of practice competition got underway for you guys the weekend before last at the Penguin Classic. Some ups and downs in a mid-pack finish there. One highlight, beating the number two team in the country in Arkansas State, the first win over them since 2014. Just how would you assess your team's performance at that first tournament of the year?
I think we did really good to start off with. I think they're learning how to win. I think that's part of the process of where it is. I mean, we really are trying to make the NCAA tournament this year, and I'm trying to put some expectations on them of what to do and how to do things, and that requires being engaged and bowling at a really high level. So that first match against Arkansas State, it was almost surreal. Getting my first collegiate win over the number two team in the country. But the bottom line is we really did play the lanes better, and that really kind of helped us do that. We ended up finishing that day pretty good. We got into the second day. We actually finished sort of 1-5 going in our last six games. And that last day, we had a match against Arkansas State in the bracket play that we really had a chance to win. So a couple of good shots in key situations, and we could have very easily been up 2-0 against them and be making a run against them again. So we didn't get blown out in any match. We were right there in every match. We could have probably won almost all of our matches, maybe losing a couple. And if we get through Arkansas State, we'd have been facing the gauntlet. But I'm really proud of the way they responded and the way they bowled and everything they did. And I think we learned a lot there, and I expect it to carry forward in the future.
Talking this week ahead of the annual Valpo Bowling Classic this weekend, the program's early season tournament, a tradition since the program's inception in 2009. How nice is it to be able to bowl close to home this weekend? And then what are you looking for out of the team?
It's really nice. It's different. It'll be a little different not traveling versus traveling. That is sometimes can be an interesting dynamic to getting everything together, because when you're all basically sequestered in a hotel and you're doing your own thing, provides a different atmosphere. That said, a lot of times in bowling, and us especially, it's almost like our quote unquote parents' weekend. So most of the parents will end up coming to a tournament like that. So it will be a lot of fun doing that. We'll be able to probably have a cookout. We're going to have a tailgate party sort of after Saturday's event, so that the parents and the athletes can all get together. The competition level, it's fairly decent, but the tournament shrunk in size, and that has to do with a couple of scheduling issues that a couple other tournaments moved on the calendar. So we lost some teams in the meantime. But I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's been a lot of work putting it together, because you got to run the thing at the same time that you're trying to do everything else. So that's been a little chaotic, but it should be really good. It should be a lot of fun. I think we're going to have fun. It's also on wood lanes, which is very much a different experience. You don't have a lot of wood houses anymore, and it makes a very different sound with the ball going down the lane. It also tends to hook a lot more. So we'll get a lot of hook out of it, which most bowlers really like to be able to see hooks. So we should have a good time, and I expect them to compete at a very high level this weekend.
This weekend, the Valpo Bowling Classic at Stardust Bowl 3 in Dyer. Tournament begins Friday with Baker play at 9:35 a.m. Saturday's traditional team matches at 9:25 a.m. and then best of seven Baker play in bracket to determine the final standing Sunday morning at 8:25 a.m. Coach Martin, thanks for joining me today and good luck this weekend.
Thanks for having me.
This has been the Valpo Coaches Show brought to you by Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute.